One of the most bitter rivalries in the car market is amongst the posh executive saloons, and it's no wonder because buyers of these cars, quite rightly, demand a lot.
They need to be luxurious and statesmanlike. There has to be just the right amount of waftability. And of course, they need all the latest tech.
With all that in mind, the new A6 needs to be something special to stand out from a crowd that includes the BMW 5 Series, the Mercedes E-Class, the Jaguar XF. So let's start with statesman-like looks, and I think it's fair to say that the A6 has that. It's a really smart-looking car, and it definitely wins hands down in the battle of my grille is bigger than your grille. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below and also on Twitter and Instagram.
It's a clear evolution from the old A6 with lots more creases, angles, and of course that massive grille giving it a huge amount of road presence. In fact, especially in this dark grey paint and S-line trim, the A6 almost looks like the A8 limo, and that's quite an accolade. But you do have to pay for it though. Standard A6 sport models look quite ordinary, but if you want the ultimate in sporty styling, you'll have to wait for the S6, which is coming later this year.
So on to luxury, and yes, without a doubt, the interior oozes luxury. But what I like about it is that it's not too in your face. Now, I may well be the only person who feels like this, but Mercedes interiors, I can see that they're incredibly well built and I can appreciate the craftsmanship, but I find them a bit too bling and a little bit showy-offy. And what I like about the A6 interior is its sleeker, understated look. It's got a retro feel. And it's not the only thing I like in here. The quality of the materials is easily the best in class and is just as good as the larger A8. Now this is one of the things that Batch really loves about the A6. He's a big fan of the haptic feedback that you get when you touch the upper touchscreen. It's basically a little vibration to let you know that it's been activated. It's very premium, very techy, very much like Batch. And as for the options list, oh golly. This A6 50 TDI S-Line has a starting price of £50,000. There are cheaper versions with a 2 litre for around £38,000. But this one, with all the options you'd want, comes in at £71,000. And come on Audi, this is another gripe that Batch and I always have. Standard colours, let's talk about those. It only comes in black and white as standard. If you want nice colours like this lovely metallic one, you're going to have to pay £685 extra. In fact, there's so much tech, I almost don't know where to begin. The technology pack will set you about £1,500, but you do get larger screens than in the standard car, along with Google Mapping. You get Audi's virtual cockpit there, that lovely digital screen, which I really like. And there's also a spot under here to wirelessly charge your phone. And then there's the £1,900 comfort pack, where you get a fancy Bang & Olufsen stereo and 360-degree parking cameras, multicoloured ambient lighting for £275, while the tour pack adds extra safety kit like adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist for £2,000, along with Matrix HD headlights for £600. And in the future, you'll be able to order your A6 with a clever feature, much like the one on the BMW 7 Series, where you'll be able to step out of your car and park it from your smartphone. I told you, the tech is endless.
Of course, loads of that tech has been passed down from its bigger brother, the A8, which kind of makes you wonder why you'd pay more for the A8 when you could just have this.
Well, one of the reasons is that the A6 is smaller. So, of course, you don't get quite the amount of space that you would in an A8. It's not a limo after all, is it? But having said that, space is pretty generous in here. And you also get 60/40 split folding rear seats. Now you'll find the same size boot as before, which is roughly the same size as the BMW 5 Series, not quite as big as the Mercedes E-Class. It's got plenty of hooks and tether points and nets. It's a good size, and if you need more space, of course, then don't forget there's the Audi A6 Avant. For now, choosing your A6 is pretty straightforward, as there are just two diesels, a 201 2-litre called 40 TDI and this 50 TDI, which has a 282 horsepower 3-litre V6 with quattro all-wheel drive. Now, before you start moaning about diesels, let me explain that they do both have hybrid technology that switches off the engine when you're coasting and also gives a bit of extra grunt when you're accelerating. Joining the lineup will also be a 55 TFSI 3-litre V6 petrol, and also something to look forward to, a hot S6 that's going to be arriving. So, does it have the waftability factor? Well, yes it does. You might think that the 2-litre with just 201 horsepower is a bit weedy, but actually it's quick enough and it's very, very smooth. But what's even smoother is this car, the 3-litre. And even though the quality of the car by a test track is pretty bad, it's very quiet in here, particularly if you have the double glazing like we have, which is another £525, please. We've also got a couple of other options on it. We've got dynamic all-wheel steering and the £2,000 air suspension, which is absolutely worth going for if you have the S-Line trim and the optional 20-inch wheels, which will look great. But without that air suspension, you are going to clatter if you hit a pothole. But the other great thing about this 3-litre engine is that once you've had enough of wafting along in comfort, you can enjoy a bit of speed because it's quick. Let me put my foot down, there you go, 0.62, it's 5.5 seconds. It's got really good pickup.
But it'd be quicker if the Tiptronic 8-speed automatic box was slicker to shift. It's a bit slow and pedestrian. Far better is the S-Tronic box, which is fitted to the 40 TDI 2-litre diesel. Which brings me on to how this car goes around corners. Well, the new A6 may be a lot plusher, more techy and better looking than the old version, but it's still an Audi, so it's pretty safe and predictable to drive. Turn into the corner and there isn't the poise or the balance you get from a 5 Series or a Jag XF. The steering is a bit numb too, and when you couple that with that slightly slow gearbox, you'll discover that this is a cruiser, much like the E-Class or the Volvo S90. But you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want a sporty executive car, this is the best cruiser around. It is a seriously lovely car. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get an alert when the latest video from Batch and I has landed. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and also check out our video reviews of the Volvo S90 or the Jag XF.